But so you grew up in Fontana, and what was that? Just a regular, generic
Steel town. My dad worked
a
at the
steel
steel mill.
town
Yeah.
in California?
Yeah, Kaiser Steel. They shut it down about 50 years ago.
So
or more.
So you had the 2.5 children, mom stay-at-home experience. Dad worked at the steel mill. And stopped off at the tavern.
Unfortunately, stopped at the tavern every night. And
really?
Unfortunately, yeah. When I was about 5 years old, they finally split up for good. My dad, when he got drunk, he got violent. He would beat up cops. He would be driving home from
cops.
Yeah. My dad was an ex-fighter, so he was a tough guy. And so I looked up to my dad like, well, my dad could beat up your dad. It was that kind of thing when I was a kid, and he could. But he would get pulled over by the cops, and he'd just get out of the car and knock the guy out with one punch and get back in the car and drive home.
And there were no repercussions?
In a small town. Yeah, like 2 hours later, he's sitting on the couch smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, and knock, knock, knock. 5 policemen are out there. Come on, Robert, come on out. Now, come on, you got to take you to jail. They knew him. He was a small town, and I'd be sitting there. My dad would get up and duke it out with 5 cops.
Now they would put him in jail for like 20 years.
I know. He went to road camp.
And what was it? Just like Otis? They put him in the cell, and Andy took the key, and they let himself out later.
I don't really know what happened. Be honest with you.
But he wasn't in jail your whole childhood, was he?
No, quite a bit.
Oh, he was. He was literally in jail.
Yeah. My mom she finally, like I said, she finally left.
Did kids tease you about that? Like your daddy's a jailbird?
Yeah, when I got my teenagers, see, when I got to be 13 or 14 and start looking into girls and going over their house. And I remember going to one of my girlfriend's house, and her father, I go there after school, I walk her home holding hands in junior high. We go in the house, we're sitting in her den, like listening to records or something. Her dad walks, oh, Daddy, hey, I want you to meet, my friend, Sammy Hagar. And he goes, Hagar, is your father named Robert? I said, yeah. He said, get the hell out of my house.
Oh, Jesus.
He kicked me out of the house. No kid, I'm not joking.
Wow.
I was so humiliated. And man, my girlfriend, she was thinned out.
And that was the end of the relationship?
No, that started put me into a downward spiral. I really started getting into hanging out with bad kids and doing bad stuff.
And how old were you at this time?
About 13, before I got a car.
So that was yes, and not to make everything like relevant to today, bigger issues, but the idea of visiting the sins of the past onto people who had nothing to do with them, I could make a case that is relevant to some things that are going on today.
Yeah, probably.
You didn't do it.
Yeah.
You didn't do it. Your
Small
father
town.
did it. And so for you to get blamed must have engendered a great resentment in you.
My dad had beat the guy up in a bar. That's what it came down to. He'd been in the bar with him.
But you didn't. No. I believe in individual responsibility. That's what I'm saying, right?
I would have after the way he treated me.
Right. But we're individuals.
Yeah.
We're not all, we belong to classes and races and colors and things, but we are individuals. This is the great lesson of your childhood.
Well,
but then you got in with a bad crowd.
Yeah,
so
it
actually drove you. It was it was a fulcrum. It was
felt like a loser.
Point.
I started feeling like a loser because of my dad. And the guys that weren't making fun of me or giving me shit about it were the tough guys in town. Man, your dad's a badass, man. Yeah, I know a guy that was in jail with him. Yeah, he said he was really fucking cool. So I started hanging around with those kind of guys. Crazy as it sounds, I made it out of it. Whew. But I started taking drugs and stuff, smoking weed and drinking and
Well, not all of those things are bad. So, one out of 3.
I did though, but back then you got caught with weed, you went to jail, pal.